support for it, and thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the nominees. Thank you for being here. Mr. Duva, if I could just start with you. I've noticed that you've been asked a number of questions about hypotheticals, about political interference. What would happen if so-and-so tried to interfere in an investigation? What would happen if you were asked to pursue politically motivated ends? What would happen if you were asked to pursue or launch a politically motivated investigation? So let me just ask you about a non-hypothetical, just to get your response, something that actually happened. Like, for example, the United States Department of Justice seeking to track the cell phones of 8 members of the United States Senate without any criminal predicate, without any notice to any senator, multiple of whom sit on this committee, including myself, without any legal process to the senator targeted whatsoever. They tracked all incoming calls to our phones, all outgoing calls to our phones, all metadata associated with the calls, including location, the duration of the calls. Does this sound appropriate to you? Does this sound like appropriate behavior for the Department of Justice to be engaged in?
Hey, folks. Welcome back to America Patriots, your home for truth, accountability, and American values. If you believe in the Constitution, if you're tired of seeing Washington play by its own rules while the rest of us play by the law, then you're in the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment when we're done, because we're going to talk about something that every American, left, right, or center should care about, the misuse of power inside our own government. So this week, during a Senate hearing, Senator Josh Hawley did what far too few people in D.C. are willing to do. He called out the Department of Justice for something that actually happened, not some political rumor, not a hypothetical. He exposed a real case of overreach.
Senator Hawley, I appreciate the question, and I'm noticing the panel's asking me a lot. I'm happy to share with my colleagues as we keep going in this discussion. But, sir, what I think you're talking about is issuing a grand jury subpoena for cell phone records. And in any investigation, you better have, pursuant to the Justice Manual, specific and articulable facts about why you're doing that. If you do not have that and you cannot articulate those facts under 18 U.S.C. 2703, that subpoena does not get served.
You know, the other thing that's interesting about this context, and I appreciate your answer, is that the records that they sought to track and trace and tap, the devices that they sought, are in the possession of senators pursuant to their constitutional duties. 2 U.S.C. Section 6628A specifically says that those records do not become the possession of cell phone companies. They don't become the possession of Verizon or AT&T or whomever. They are retained by the senator's office. Why? Because these devices are used pursuant to the speech and debate responsibilities of senators. Yet the Justice Department did not inform senators, did not seek from our offices these records. They went instead ex parte to the telephone companies, got the records apparently, again, with no criminal predicate that we know about, no process whatsoever. It is a grotesque violation of statutory law and also the separation of powers, particularly the speech and debate clause. Here you have an executive branch directly spying on members of the legislative branch while they are performing their constitutional duties. Let me just ask you, Mr. Duva, does this sound like something we want to normalize? I mean, is this something you'd like to see the current Justice Department doing on a regular basis? I mean, should they be tracking the cell phone records of everybody down here on the left side of the dais? Would that be a good thing for the country?
Clearly no, Senator.
Clearly no. Clearly no. I can't tell you what an outrage I think this is, and so it's just a little bit hard for me to stomach sitting here and listening to you be asked about all of these various hypotheticals. This isn't a hypothetical. This happened. It happened, and so far there have been exactly 0 repercussions for it. And I just want to say that if my colleagues are serious about stopping political weaponization of the Justice Department, why don't we start with this right here? Why don't we find out who authorized this? Why don't we find out what laws, if any, were broken? Why don't we appoint a special prosecutor to go after this and get to the bottom of it? And I will just reiterate my calls for this committee to do full oversight hearings on exactly what happened as part of this weaponization, as part of this, I think, both illegal and unconstitutional targeting of United States senators in their constitutional responsibilities. At the same time, the same Justice Department was also targeting, we now know, thanks to whistleblowers, 92 separate conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, a campus organization. Why? I guess because it was conservative. I mean, this is the most unbelievable abuse of the Justice Department that I've not only seen in my lifetime, that I've ever read or heard about in our country's history, because it's not one little thing, it's an entire pattern. This is the same Justice Department that sent a SWAT team to the home of a pro-life demonstrator. This is the same Justice Department and FBI that tried to recruit informants into Catholic parishes. This is the same Justice Department that targeted the chief political opponent of the then sitting president for prosecution to try to keep him off of a ballot. I mean, it is unbelievable. And I hope that my colleagues agree. I hope we can all agree. We cannot allow this to become the norm. And I hope, Mr. Duva, if you are confirmed, you will do your part in the criminal division to make sure that the resources of this powerful, powerful agency are used for good, to protect the American people, protect the rule of law, to put violent criminals away, not to prosecute the political agendas of some politician somewhere. Thanks for being.
I will, Senator. Thank you.
Senator Welch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Could you say that again, Mr. Chairman?
You know,
I like that.
you know, I'm amazed at how quickly it went to your head.
You shouldn't be. You know me well.
Well, that's true, but I wanted to keep it on the down low so you could at least maintain the appearance of a reasonable person. But it's good to have you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Crane, in Louisiana, the state of Louisiana judges have to run for election, which I think has some unfortunate consequences. That obviously is not your creation. If you want to be a judge, you got to run. But it meant you had to do what we have to do. You had, I guess, in one of your campaigns, $1.2 million. And I know you'll get legal contributions, and that'll include from the oil and gas industry, which oftentimes, which does have litigation in front of the court. And I know that one of the controversial cases that you had to make a decision on involved.
According to what he said in that hearing, the DOJ went out and tracked the cell phone data of 8 sitting United States senators. No criminal predicate, no warrant notice, no explanation. Just tracked them, who they called, how long the calls lasted, even location data, all while those senators were carrying out their constitutional duties. Now think about that for a second. The executive branch, the Department of Justice, secretly pulling the phone records of members of the legislative branch. That's not just improper. That's a direct attack on the separation of powers that holds our republic together. The founders built checks and balances for a reason. The DOJ is supposed to enforce the law, not spy on lawmakers. Hawley brought up a really important point. Under U.S. law, those Senate phone records aren't even supposed to belong to Verizon or AT&T once they're used for official work. They belong to the senator's office. They're protected under what's called the Speech and Debate Clause of the Constitution. The very clause meant to ensure that elected representatives can do their jobs without intimidation or interference from the executive branch. Yet, instead of respecting that, the DOJ apparently went around Congress entirely. They went straight to the phone companies, in secret, to get that data. If that's true, it's not only a violation of statutory law, it's a slap in the face of the rule of law itself. And here's the part that should chill every single one of us. If they can do that to senators, people with power, people who have staff and lawyers and media attention, imagine what they can do to regular citizens like you and me. If the Department of Justice is willing to bypass constitutional limits to snoop on elected officials, what makes you think your privacy, your rights, or your freedoms are safe? Hawley said it best. This cannot become the norm. And he's right. He also called for a full investigation to find out who authorized this, what laws were broken, and why there's been zero accountability so far. He wants a special prosecutor and real oversight hearings. And honestly, that's what every patriot should want. Not for revenge, but for transparency. Because if there's one thing that destroys faith in government faster than anything, It's when people in power abuse the system and never face consequences. But Hawley didn't stop there. He connected the dots to a bigger pattern that we've all been watching unfold over the last few years. The same DOJ that tracked senators' phones has, according to reports, also targeted 92 conservative organizations, including college groups like Turning Point USA. The same DOJ sent a SWAT team to the home of a pro-life father for a minor charge that could have been handled with a phone call. The same DOJ and FBI tried to recruit informants inside Catholic churches. And yes, it's the same Department of Justice that went after the sitting president's main political opponent in the middle of an election season. Now, you don't have to be a partisan to see the pattern here. When one side of the political aisle keeps getting investigated, raided, and spied on, while the other side seems untouchable, that's not justice. That's politics wearing a badge. And when the Justice Department starts picking winners and losers, democracy itself is at risk. The truth is, the DOJ should be the most neutral institution in the country. It should protect all of us equally. But lately, it feels like it's being used as a weapon to silence, intimidate, and control. That's not how America works. That's how tyrannies work. And for those who shrug and say, well, maybe they had a reason, I want to remind you of something simple. The rule of law means no one is above it, not senators, not presidents, not the Justice Department itself. We either have equal justice for everyone, or we don't have justice at all. Now, the nominee being questioned in that hearing, Mr. Duva, said that such actions would be inappropriate and that grand jury subpoenas need to be backed by clear, specific facts. And that's fine, it's the right answer. But words are easy. What matters is action. If he's confirmed, he needs to stand up inside that building and make sure that DOJ power is used for one thing only, protecting the American people and upholding the law, not advancing a political agenda. At the end of the day, this whole situation is about something bigger than party lines. It's about whether we still live in a country where government power has limits, whether we're still a free people whose representatives can serve without fear of being watched, followed, or punished for doing their jobs. So here's my message tonight. America needs a Justice Department we can trust again, one that prosecutes real crime, violent crime, corruption, trafficking, fraud, not the personal or political enemies of whoever happens to be in office. We need leaders in that department who remember that they serve the people, not the politicians. If we don't demand accountability now, if we just let this slide, then the next time the government crosses a line, it'll be even easier. And one day we'll wake up and realize those lines are gone completely. That's why it matters. That's why Senator Hawley's outrage is justified. And that's why I'll keep talking about it until the people in charge are forced to answer for what they've done. So if you care about the Constitution, if you want a government that plays by the same rules the rest of us do, make sure you like this video so more Patriots see it. Subscribe so you don't miss the next update, and drop a comment below. Do you think Congress should open a full investigation into this DOJ spying scandal? Because the only way we keep this republic free is by standing up for it together. Thanks for watching, Patriots. Stay strong, stay informed. And as always, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.